everyone, it's Neil King for Random Acts of Cartooning, and I'm here at the Captain Blue Hen convention to do some sketches and sell some books. But first... Hey everyone, okay, so the influence for this episode is Neil Gaiman and his huge run on the Sandman. It's been around for a long time, and it's inspired many creators throughout the years. So Neil Gaiman, great writer, has done many different types of things that are out there, that are films have been made and everything from them. But Sandman created a couple major characters that I really love, and at conventions I draw a lot of, and that's Dream and Death. And they are kind of recognizable. And in his books, and this is just one of them that I have, the Sandman, Fables and Reflections. And lots of stories that go through with the characters. And I won't talk about specifically the books, but the great thing about what happens when you have many different artists work with him is that you see the basic icons of what he does with these characters. And this is Dream, or Morpheus. And I see him in so many different ways. So specific artists that are here, and they do all kinds of different things here. This is Kent Williams' interpretation. But I love seeing the character done in so many ways. I always think of The Cure and all the different things. But when you see these characters done like this is Sean McManus. Look how different you can see him. I just tried to pick a few here. And then Death is shown as this woman. And again, I've seen her in so many different ways. They have them sometimes together in the stories. They'll have conversations, parts of these gods. But I thought I would just show a few of these different concepts. This crow. When I think of them, I just think of that hair and all the crazy things. But any kind of a really great characters can be interpreted in different ways. Look how different she looks in this one, Beth. Completely different. But there's little recognizable parts to it, and people do play off of that. And for me, for sketches, look how cool this one is. For me to do sketches of these things, I try to base them off of them, but then do my style with these specific two characters, which I've drawn many times at conventions. So you need to pick up any of the Sandman episodes, many different collections of them, but a big influence. Here we go. Okay, here we are at the Captain Blue Hen convention, and this is in Dover, Delaware. Captain Blue Hen is a great comic book shop in Newark, Delaware. They've had other events that I've gone to and participated in. But this one was a pretty big convention, a lot of vendors and everything, and I came out and I got a table, as always, and I had a little commission here to do two characters from the Sandman. One of them, Dream, right here, and the second one is Death. So I'm going to be showing you what I did for both of them. I kept it into, again, I've drawn these characters before, so I'll add things to them that I've seen, or maybe I've just evolved into doing. I like, it's a very kind of ethereal type of a character. Dream, or Morpheus, or whatever they call him. And so the idea here is for me I kind of like this elongated feeling for this character. So when I'm rushing in here, and I've sped this up a little bit so I can get both of these sketches in, I really go loose, but it is a really manneristic or elongated kind of a character. So I just kind of get the basics of the line in there, And because I'm at a convention, I'm on a deadline, so I do want to kind of move along, but feel really free to kind of add things as I go along. And I kind of make my own edits as I'm drawing these characters. So for him, I have drawn him a whole bunch of times, so many different ways. I don't think I feel like I haven't drawn him the same twice. But for this one, nice long face. He's kind of looking right at the viewer. I put a really long scarf on him, and I'm going to go crazy with that hair up there. But with my pen, I want to establish all the little detail lines. So he kind of has like this kind of sand coming out of his hand, and it's coming like falling through his fingers. So I kind of wanted to have that on it. And then this very just elongated arm that's really free-flowing. He's in some kind of a very loose robe that I've seen him in a few times. And sometimes it'll just be over his shoulder. But I think it adds to the feeling for this character. So as you can see, like my idea on this specific one is to make that hair all dry brushed out. Like I just pull it out like it's almost like a cloud above him, and it's just moving around. So that's the fun of doing characters like this, because he's been shown in so many different ways that if you know these characters, you would recognize him, even though I'm doing him maybe differently than a lot of people would have. So with this, again, because I'm using my brush pen at this point, it's all very aggressive. And I want to just kind of allow stuff to happen. I'm unsure of where it's going when I'm doing something like this. And I just want to be able to use the pen and brush as well as I can to develop what's happening in this character. Now, a lot of the times I think of this as a very simple, very pale-skinned, I've seen him many times just white-skinned character. So for this, I thought I would just go with a monochromatic color as I go through into this thing. And you'll see, like, just laying this in. Remember, the video here is twice the speed. I would think that this probably took me about 15 minutes or so to create. So what I decided again is I'm using reds and values of reds with this one, and I'm going in with my lights to my darks. And when you work in this way, it feels great to be able just to throw paint on and see where it's going to go. But you have to be aware of light, and I'm trying to keep the light on top, the top left of of the image, his right shoulder most probably, and I'm trying to keep it a little consistent. But also what this does when you do a monochromatic piece is it adds a lot of mood, and I think that's really gonna do well with something like this. So your base values are just kind of, you're moving through it, and you want to set up something where it's not just one value of red, but if you start off with the lightest and then build up to your darkest, you really do get some nice effects on it. And I think with line, personally, I prefer to have a limited color than I do full color a lot of times, because you can just do so much and you can do it quickly. And I think it serves specific characters really well. It's not supposed to be something where, like if it was a comic, that you have a lot of different things going on in different areas. With this, as you can see, it's just kind of, he's so elongated that I just want to have the viewer look at this and be brought into a whole different feeling about what this character could kind of look like. So I'm just putting in some darks in here, some grays and blacks on top of those, the reds. I don't want the red to be too bright, and this will definitely bring that down. But it gets me to my darkest values, and once I start seeing it around, I'm going to move around the piece and make sure that it's everywhere. And then once that's happening, then I'm taking steps back and I squint my eyes and see if I like it, or there are parts to it. But because it's a sketch and it's because it's in a convention like this, you really have to just allow it to be what it's going to be. And
with him, I just was unsure about how it would finish. But it's always at the end parts that you're just like, what needs to be done? What do I need to clarify some of the parts to him? But by having this, you can see he pops a little bit more every time I'm adding a little bit more. But it's all kind of a dry brush at this point. I don't want anything to be too slick with this, and I think I actually got a lot of good texture with this guy with this. And again, all in fun, all having as much fun as I can, and again, using a little bit of the sand. But I'm just wrapping them up at this point. Now I'm going to start right after this with Death. And, so remember, he's Dream. And he's like one of the main characters in the Sandman. Great character, beautiful concept, and everybody does their version. Just finishing up with the little parts in there. I think it was successful.
As you know, I am a working cartoonist. So this is another one of my books. It's called My Parents Are Ninjas. And it's a fun all ages book about a boy whose parents are ninjas. And I really enjoyed doing this. Lots of action and funny little situations. But it's on my Amazon store. And I have a link to that in each episode that I do. And by supporting that, you support the channel. And remember to like and support all of the episodes that I do here, because it's all about the creation of these books. And when you support that kind of stuff, you'll see more and more variety out there with comics and graphic novels. And I'm trying to do my part. Here we go.
Okay, so for the second part of this commission, I'm drawing Death. Now, this image of this female character, I have drawn so many times, and even before I knew what Sandman was, people would ask me, could I draw Death for them? And I would be like, okay, and I'd have to look it up, and I would like, and I saw the parts to her that you have to kind of get in. As I go through here, I am also elongating her, just like I did with the Dream character. So that manneristic idea of elongation, and it really adds to what I think makes some characters seem, just a different realm. Like they're human, but they're so stylized that it really adds, I think, to all of this stuff. Okay, so you can see here also, she's always has that Ankh character, Ankh symbol, that Egyptian symbol. The idea of life, and like it's the key of life, and the Nile. It's this whole thing. So with Death, you think about this character, it kind of works really nicely, but you can usually recognize the character by that necklace that she wears. So for me, what's fun, again, is I'm really playing around with her hair. I've seen her so many different ways, and I have drawn her completely different than this many times. But I'm trying to keep them together as almost like something that's similar. So I did want to keep them both kind of very long with this. So I'm just kind of moving in with the pen, doing my details. Sometimes she'll have these gloves on that I've seen before. With the fingers cut out, the whole thing. But again, like what I really try to do is take the symbols that I'm used to seeing for her, and just make them different. Sometimes I'll make it so it's very contemporary looking. She's kind of that goth looking character, and I'll try to put a little bit of detail as if she's wearing certain stuff. But I've seen her all kinds of different ways, and just for me, when I'm laying this in, and as you can see, that's just the pen. I'll just go for a little while, and then I'm going to get way more aggressive with this kind of dry brush that really makes what I really wanted to have happen with that hair, just like I did with Dream. This Death character, I just want the hair to really pop and have this life of its own. And then I'm just going to go in throughout what she's wearing, because she almost always wears black in most regards. So with this, I'm just like, hey, I'll put this much in, see what it looks like, you know, and then just go with it and see if it works for me as I'm moving through. So again, very loose, just trying to get in those major parts. You want everything to pop, you know, and as I go in there and do all the other things, contrast, and give it a little texture on those pants. Maybe there's little cutouts that you can imagine, like a jeans or something, and hopefully they read like that. She's wearing some kind of a jacket maybe off of her shoulders, and again, it elongates that character to make it seem a little bit different than maybe you would see her in the comics. But I'm sure there have been many renditions that are, you know, that this is born out of. I'm sure I've seen things that have influenced me to make her like this. So again, with the color, I'm staying with that monochromatic, the red, and all the values of the red. So they are kind of a pair, and I wanted to use the that background color just to give her again this feeling of she's ethereal and she has, you know, there's value there. Again, her skin is usually really white. But when you go on to this, and if she's wearing black, to keep it warm, to keep that black warm, I put the reds on first, and then I build on top of it with black and gray. And that gives it a nice, again, feeling of layers, and a warm gray compared to a cool gray is very different. And but I think for the warm gray with this one, I think it kind of works really well with that character. So to me, I'm just trying to get some nice, quick, dry brush feel. I'm keeping my eye on the consistent place where the light's coming from. I want her to be coming kind of almost out of the shadows. And again, like when I'm looking at it, I'm just like, is this dark enough? So when I go in with the black, that's what I'm really focusing in on. I'm just like, I want her to pop out a little bit more. Is anything getting in the way? And I kind of like this kind of misty feeling in the background, but I don't want it to overwhelm. So I'm looking at it, and I think at this point I was like, you know, I think I should probably bring some of that background up a little bit so she seems like she really is coming out of it. Lots of contrast, building up that hair. I was making sure too that every time I touch something, like I was like, okay, is this it? I squint my eyes. Can I see a variety? You know, is anything bothering me? I think at some point with this specific one too, what I would do is I'm like, I don't see the red as much. I think I want a little more. So I build it back on top. The watercolor is allowing me to go a little bit like that. Building up around that head. It's all the last touches. I mean, I'm almost basically done this. The whole piece probably took, again, about anywhere between 15 minutes to 20 minutes tops. It wasn't very long, especially when you have a limited color piece. It's supposed to be vibrant, and I think it's, you know, it worked out. You know, it's right at the end. You're even touching things up. I'm like, is that getting in the way? I think I eventually get rid of some of this background that has some white in it, because I think it takes away a little bit from a mist coming from her hand. So I just got rid of that. And I think it's better. You know, the same thing on the other side. I don't think that stuff can get really in the way, but you just want that brush. This was fun. So remember to like and subscribe. Thanks for Captain Blue Hen for having us. See you next time.